Welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, presented by the Law Office of Michael Robinson, PC, on News Radio, Wham 1180. The Seniors Rock Show, a lively weekly discussion shining a bright light on aging with fun, entertainment, and important info for all adults. Join in with your comments or questions. Call or text 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now from the News Radio Wham 1180 studio in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Hello there and welcome. Thank you for joining me and my co-host Mike. We're always happy to be here on Saturday at noon, even though sometimes we listen to the news and it's pretty tough to be positive, but we're going to give that a whirl today like we do every week. So, we started the show over a year ago on Wham 1180, and we've more than doubled our audience already, which is really something. And thank you to Pam, our producer, and to Mike, my co-host, and all the guests we've had. Oh, thanks, Pam. That was awesome. Anyway, a little touch there. That's how she is. And it is a gift to know that we're reaching so many people because that's why we started the show. And the show actually started almost 5 years ago now. And we were on another station for a few years and now on Wham, as I said, for it was a year in June. I can't believe it. And we hope that you're getting the important information we've been trying to share to families, and you'll share about the show to your friends and so on and your other family members. But that was our goal. So I'm excited about that. And as an expert attorney in estate planning, Mike Robinson often says that one of his core values is education. And that's really nice. We think that it's a really good fit for the Seniors Rock Show. So we also like to talk about entertainment because it's really important. Don't forget, folks, not just during the holidays, but you need to socialize. You need to talk to people, whether it's on the phone or Zoom or whatever you're doing. Have some fun along the way, and you'll learn that way too, and you'll feel better in all ways if you connect with other adults and children, especially during the holidays. Love that. And, when you're getting older, you have less to do most of the time, or you're going out less because you're not going to work every day. And nowadays, almost everyone's staying home to work as well as just hang out. So it's an interesting time for sure. And it's been harder to get together in person, but we're doing our best. And so we want to connect with you and get you connected to other people. One of the best things about doing that is that uh, for me, anyways, to meet people, and I never regret a show. I learn something every week. And right now, I'd like to introduce you to one of the people that educates me every week, and I learn a lot from him. My co-host, estate planning and elder law attorney of some 35 plus years. Listeners have been sending in questions to him, and you can call today. By the way, I'm going to say that real quick. If you have a question, give us a buzz, 585-222-1180, or it's 1-800-295-1180 if you're out of town. And I'm going to open up the mic now to Mike because I think he had a family send him a question, or not a family, I'm sorry. Someone sent him a question about a family cottage. And I thought to myself when I saw that, I bet they're prepping for the holidays when a lot of families are getting together. So I'm looking forward to hearing your answer to that question, Mike. And I'd like to say happy Saturday. How are you?
Hey, Joanna, happy Saturday to you as well. Boy, what a crazy week, huh? I mean, today we're in t-shirt weather, and we had, at least at our house, a couple of inches of snow on the ground earlier this week. So funny developments there. Tuesday was the 80th commemoration of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and it was interesting to reflect on that. Interestingly, every year that also happens to be my daughter's birthday.
Hmm.
And we always said she was a bombshell from day one.
That's
Uh,
great.
this was her 30th trip around the sun, so that kind of
Oh.
a big round number for her. And then yesterday, she and her band filmed their first music video.
That
So
is awesome. Happy
that's kind of
birthday, Sarah.
yeah, so that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And before we get to the question, just speaking of music, as Joanna, I was telling you earlier, last night went to see Madrigalia's Christmas program, And I think it was probably yeah, the first time in 2 years they'd been able to sing for a live audience, and it was fantastic. It was very safe, proof of vaccination required. Everyone was masked. The crowd was spread out. It was really a lovely program and a great evening. I know they are performing again tonight and tomorrow. I don't know where or when, but I'm sure you can find that out if you go online. So just it was a wonderful program. Can't say enough about it. So if you get an opportunity, take advantage. But yeah, the question was an interesting one. Bob from Greece wrote in to say, my wife and I own a cottage that has been enjoyed by our family for many years, and we would like to make sure that our children and grandchildren can continue to use and enjoy the cottage after we're gone. What is the best way to do that? And Bob, great question. And we've helped many families with this situation. And it's a question that hits close to home for me because, as you know, Joanna, my grandfather owned a cottage on the St. Lawrence River that our family lost because we had to sell it to pay for his nursing home. And that's, in fact, one of the experiences that inspired me to focus my law practice on estate planning and elder law. So, Bob, one of the most important things that you can do is to plan now to make sure that the cottage will still be there when you and your wife are gone. Because just as happened in my family, many, many families lose cottages and camps because of long term care expenses. And it's easy to see why. A typical nursing home stay in our area today is over $15,000 per month. Even home care gets quite expensive. Just 12 hours a day for 5 days a week is going to run over $9,000 per month. So, planning to make sure the cottage will be protected from long term care expense is the first step to making sure your children and grandchildren, and even their children, can continue to enjoy the cottage after you're gone. And then the second thing you should do is create a plan for how the cottage is going to be managed and used. One of the worst things you can do is just leave it in equal shares to the children. That's a recipe for disaster. What we've done for many families instead is to create what we call a cottage trust. And that provides a clear framework for the family and eliminates misunderstandings and minimizes opportunities for conflict. And, among the issues that you really need to address, who is responsible for managing the cottage? How are decisions made regarding maintenance, repairs, and improvements? Who's going to be financially responsible for cottage expenses? And what if that person or those persons don't fulfill their financial obligations? Will there be requirements for family members to contribute their labor to the upkeep of the cottage? What happens if one or more family members don't want to or can't use the cottage and they just want cash instead? I've seen several instances where one family member was able to force a sale of the cottage because there was no protection in place to prevent that. Who gets to use the cottage and when? What if someone or their guest breaks something? Who's going to pay for that? Can the cottage be rented to non-family members? And, protecting a child's or grandchild's interest in the cottage from being seized by creditors is another important consideration. So, Joanna, these are just some of the important questions that need to be addressed if we want to not only keep the cottage in the family, but also do our best to make sure the situation does not become a catalyst for family arguments and fractured relationships. And I think it's important to involve the children in the conversation as these issues are being discussed, because mom and dad may have a particular vision that the kids recognize just won't work. And of course, great time of year to do that is families get together to celebrate the holidays. And then once all of those issues are addressed, properly memorializing the decisions in the trust document is crucial. So, Bob, thank you for the question, and kudos to you and your wife for thinking ahead and looking for advice on how best to address this situation. I promise you, your children and your grandchildren will be grateful to you for doing so.
Mike, I'm sitting here listening to you, and who thinks about cottages at this time of the year? But you're right, people are getting together, and this is the time to think about this. And if you haven't had a discussion, I think the holidays is an appropriate time for anything like that. Some of these difficult discussions are just fine to do with the holidays, and again, very appropriate. It's very sad that you lost your family cottage to long-term care expense. And I would hate to see a family do that. So, folks, please, if you do have property like that, or any kind of property, or anything actually asset wise, and I like to remind folks too that Mike talks a lot about things that are not monetary. They're things you want to keep in the family. And Mike, thank you for educating us about that. It's a complicated situation when there's a lot of family members, no doubt, and you can continue to learn about things like this if you attend a webinar that Mike does almost monthly. I think the next one is coming up on, here it is, January 19th, right after the holidays. So you may be a plan with your family to attend it together. It's a 90-minute estate planning webinar that Mike does, and I'm telling you, it's well worth it. It is on the 19th. It's a Wednesday at 2. And Mike is there, right, Mike, right afterwards to actually answer questions if they have questions. And
That is
not.
correct.
Hmm.
Yep,
And
absolutely. That in fact, that's the most fun part of the webinar for me.
yeah, because he's quite a character, as you know from listening to the show. Speaking of the show, looks like we're going to break here, but we will be right back. So please stay with us on the Seniors Rock Show, Wham 1180.
The law office of Michael Robinson, PC, has helped families protect their hard-earned wealth from nursing home expense, probate, and taxes. Visit us online to register for our free educational webinar to learn how you can protect you and your family. mrobinsonlaw.com.
Hang on, help is on its way. I'll be there as fast as I can.
And welcome back to the Seniors Rock Show, and we're here to help, I hope. And speaking of hope, we're going to be talking about that today. I wanted to remind listeners, though, to be vigilant at this time of the year. I think you know that already, but you can't be reminded enough that there's things going on out there, and there's a lot of scams online, and even when you're out and about, don't if someone's coming up to your car, be careful. Don't open the window. Just keep going. Whatever. Do what's safe. And you can enjoy being out. I don't want to put a scare into folks, but we've been hearing a lot on the news lately, and it's the holidays, so I want people to feel comfortable going out. And today, Mike, it's like 60 degrees out. It was freaky. I stepped outside and was like, wow, it's supposed to be really windy. There's a high wind warning, so be careful of that. I have small dogs. I always am. But anyway, when I stepped out, I was like, whoa, it felt like summer. And Pam mentioned it too. Did you notice?
Yeah. I went out. In fact, we had a little wind overnight, and I had to go recover some of the wood pile. And I went out in a t-shirt, and it was fine.
Yeah, it's really wild, and a lot of stuff going on with the weather. But um, we're going to stick inside today, and we're going to talk a little bit about things when you get together with with your family over the holidays. Things that you could watch out for, especially if you have a senior, and a senior maybe that lives alone. There's some things that you can watch out for, and I think they're worth mentioning today. And trying to be positive about the holidays, but still it is a great opportunity to really pay attention to what's happening in the family. And of course we have options, for help if there is an issue. So I guess I'll start with a couple of the things that you should watch out for. And I know you might notice poor eating habits. And I remember someone in our family who was in the early 90s, and she would eat ice cream like, ferociously. But, when it came to food, she wasn't that interested. So you have to watch that, of course. And if they're losing weight, you don't want that to happen. So pay attention. And uh, also, the home, which maybe used to be very clean all the time, maybe you notice that they're having a hard time keeping up with some of the regular, chores around the house kind of thing. And then some of the more interesting things are inappropriate behavior, and I've seen that myself, where someone might, have dementia and maybe says something that's inappropriate or bursts out with something. I can't say it on the air to give you an example, but believe me, it happens. And Mike, have you experienced anything like that in your life?
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, I mean, we all have. And interesting, on that point, some people have always been that way. So if
True.
they're that way now when they're a little bit older, that's not necessarily a sign for concern. But you're right. For some people, um, the behaviors will present that are really out of character for that individual, and so yeah, something to be attuned to. And hygiene, that's another thing that oftentimes um, elders will struggle with, especially if they're beginning to experience some dementia. So if you notice, things just don't smell right, or someone who always took great pride in their appearance suddenly is constantly disheveled, uh, has seemed to lose interest, in fact, in their appearance. That's something to, again, it's just something to watch for, and maybe have some conversations. And Joanna, as you said, there are other people to talk to. As we've said before, the Alzheimer's Association is a fabulous resource if you have those concerns. What else have you seen in terms of elders and starting to show need for help?
I know one of the first things that I've learned, I've taken the course at Lifespan. I do have my certificate of gerontology now, so I speak with authority. No, not really. But anyway, it is interesting that one of the first things that folks notice is mishandled finances. And
Yeah.
someone who was very careful about their bills and always paid on time, all of a sudden is getting late notices, and they're having a hard time maybe keeping track. So that is a big one, and that happens quite often, as one of the first signs that you see. Another thing might be decreased participation in things that they normally like to do. Maybe even going, well, it's hard to tell now. That's not even a good one to use because we're not really going out, and so that's hard to gauge. But when we do get back out, if they don't want to go to church, or, they used to volunteer, or they, had an active time at their senior centers, and all of a sudden they're staying home, and, those kinds of things are red flags for sure.
And I think too, when we see these things, and of course, if it's a loved one, it raises concern, but also kind of keeping our own emotions in check, and trying to look at this objectively, because what we don't want to do is, if we see one or two or three of these items, that doesn't mean we need to come in and just take over and say, hey, mom or dad, we're taking over your life. That's not appropriate. It's not necessary, but certainly to address the particular issues, and again, bring in some professional help if needed. That's really what you want to be attuned to.
Absolutely. And we'll remind folks again that Lifespan has that family mediation service, and, several other things that they can help you with. So don't be shy about getting a hold of the folks at Lifespan, especially if you see something concerning, because you know what? Getting older doesn't, you don't deserve to be hurt or to be worrying. And we need to help our seniors and be sure that we're there for them. And again, it shouldn't hurt to be old. So make sure that if you see something that's concerning, you say something. And I think that's making me sad, but I think our next segment, which is coming up soon after this break, is going to be about hope, because I just uncovered hope a couple times this morning myself. So we're going to talk about that. And I think I'm not the only one that's feeling a little low these days with some of the news on and some of the things that are happening, and just the different celebrations that we're having. So let's talk about going forward and having hope right after this break. Effortlessly healthy meals are fresh, fully prepared, ready to eat, and hand-delivered. As a senior, I appreciate the 10% discount, and I love the never-frozen big variety of heart-healthy meals I get to choose from each week. Effortlessly Healthy is locally owned. Meals are perfect to send to a senior loved one. Just heat and eat. Effortlessly Healthy, delicious food, convenience, and a 10% senior discount. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay home. ehmeals.com, ehmeals.com, 585-254-0078.
Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I
saw her face. Now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't.
Welcome back to the Seniors Rock Show. And we couldn't go by today without mentioning rest in peace, Mike Nesmith from the Monkees. And, we like to talk about some of those old tunes, and we have a few of them on the music bumps today. Thank you, Pam, for helping us with that. And it's been great getting listeners' messages. We have heard they like the music bumps, so that's awesome. And they come through the website, the questions to Mike, and they also go to him at mrobinsonlaw.com. So there's lots of ways to get a hold of us. And today, if you want to give us a call, we are live. You can give us a call and talk about anything. Maybe you enjoyed something this past year on the show and like to see it again, or listen to it again next year in 2022. Maybe a new subject that we haven't covered. So please feel free to call. We'd love to hear from you. And the number is 585-222-1180. That's 1180. And if you're out of town, and I know we have Canadian listeners, Billy, are you there? 1-800-295-1180 is the number to call if you're out of town. And of course, you can listen to us live on the internet and on the iHeartRadio app. So no excuses. Join us next Saturday and through our website. It makes us happy. We try to make you happy with some positive news, and that's what we're about here on the show. And I'd like to thank real quick Scriptable Solutions. They put this site together, seniorsrockradio.com, and they made it really easy to navigate, and they did a great job. So I'd like to thank them. And kind of a gift for me since I don't have to worry about it. Speaking of gifts, Mike, have you got your list done yet?
No.
I like to stump him like that.
Yeah,
But
no,
you have
we're
hope about it.
I definitely have hope, and I will get it done. It's just, yeah, it's been a busy season so far. You just wonder sometimes where does the time go? But we'll
Hmm.
get to it.
I know we're in that crazy like vortex thing with the pandemic. I'm telling you, everybody says it. It's just not the same keeping track of time. I don't know what it is because everything's kind of upside down. People who were going out every day on a schedule are staying home. People who were staying home without anybody there have people there. So there's a lot happening, and we are reaching out. We do want to reach out to our seniors and to our elders who are maybe living alone. So let's remember to do that and give them some hope today. And I've been reading about hope this morning because I myself was feeling a little bit down. I was telling Mike earlier in the show or before the show started. And, you start to feel a little anxious, a little negative. And I know there's a lot of pressure at the holidays, but again, the news has been bothering me lately and it is very negative. And so I'm going to do what our friend Barbara Rebel has told us about. She's been a guest on the show, she's a big expert on trauma and grief, and she says do not listen later in the day, and that's what I'm trying to do. So that's been helpful, and it is a slippery slope, as they say, but it's not impossible to ignore. So I'm trying to do that a little bit each day. I know I need to keep in touch, and I think as I've gotten older, listening to news talk is a delight for me. It's how I keep in touch. So I'm glad that you're listening today, but again, try not to just do news all day long. And I think it's helped me anyway. How about you, Mike? Any tips?
Yeah, well, another thing, and just to piggyback, Joanna, on what you were saying, the other thing that you can do is you're not necessarily ignoring the fact that these things are happening, but you can choose not to focus on those items, and it's not being Pollyanna and pretending something isn't happening, but we always have a choice as to what is it we're going to focus on, and there is so much positive around us if we just open our eyes and take a moment to look, and let's focus on those items.
Yeah, no kidding. That's great. And there's a lot of ways to give gifts, and I'm going to mention now because thinking about giving and that always makes your heart feel better and takes you away from some of the negativity that's out there. And there are a lot of people trying to be positive, and so let's focus on that as much as we can. Again, not to be completely blindsided by everything, but stay in touch. But stay in touch with people. not just what you're hearing, and make sure that it's not something you're internalizing and not, being healthy about. So there's lots of things that you can do to get out of that. And, one of the things about gift giving, we mentioned it last week. I want to do that because it's almost the end of the year and Lifespan's 50th anniversary. We are celebrating with a lot of other folks who are big fans. In fact, their fans have offered to match a dollar for dollar up to, are you kidding? $100,000 by December 31st, whatever comes first. It's a huge amount of money. Please help them. The match is made possible through the 50th Anniversary Matching Challenge Fund that was established by Lifespan's closest friends, and there's a few of them. And, Lifespan's committed, as we say every week, to assisting every older adult and caregiver who needs help. So if you know one and you need help, or you want to, share the information, um, you can do that anytime by calling 244-8400. If you'd like to add to this with the donation and have these folks match your contribution, you can do that online at lifespan-roch.org. And again, it's 585-244-8400 for more info. But isn't that awesome? Venmo at lifespan-rochester. If you want to throw in a few bucks, they're going to match it. And I bet you they can get to that $100,000 mark fast if everybody pitches in a few bucks.
Yeah, great organization. We talk about them a lot because they are such a wonderful resource. And, another resource, Joanna, that I wanted to mention, another turn of events in the pandemic and we're starting to, see surges and hospital capacities diminish. That's causing a lot of stress for folks. And if you don't have someone to talk to, a friend or a family member, New York Project Hope. It's free. It's toll-free number 1-844-863-9314. It's free, confidential, anonymous. They have trained counselors who can talk with you and help resolve some of your anxiety.
Excellent.
And And welcome back to Seniors Rock Radio. I'm Mike Robinson here with host Joanna Palvino. And Joanna, we've covered quite a bit today. We've been all over the map.
Yes, we have. It's been fun, and as it is every Saturday at noon. And I'm going to take 1 minute to say happy birthday to my brother Jeff out in San Diego. Today is his birthday. And there's a lot of Sagittarians, as we know, involved with the show. We won't mention who. And
Haha.
yeah, but it's getting towards Christmas and I'm getting happy and it's going to be fun. I have some relatives coming in from out of town and it's going to be a great time. We're going to do Christmas Eve and I haven't done that in a long time, so I'm happy to host. And it feels like it's happening. How about you?
Yeah, we're getting ready. We're still keeping it small and just immediate family. Um, but at least we're able to get together. Last year we couldn't even do that. So yeah, looking forward to a little more normalized Christmas this year.
Yeah, because I think we're now used to taking the precautions, and we can do that. We don't. It doesn't seem as weird to not, be hugging and kissing when you normally do, or to say, do the elbow touch or whatever you want to do, or the Zoom meetings. Those are fun, and we had a couple actually this past year Zoom meetings that were a riot. My husband likes Gilligan's Island, so for his birthday, we did a Gilligan's Island themed birthday party on Zoom.
Aha.
It was a good time. I mean, you could do some crazy things like that. And, some of our folks dressed up and we had a little contest there for that. And it was very enjoyable. So, I'm trying to think of happy things to do. And I still want to do Family Feud. I told Scott over at Vox Fits over there that I'm going to challenge his family.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds
Yeah.
like you could sell tickets to that.
Yeah. Well, if you were related to me, I would have you on the team because you're pretty smart,
Well,
right? And Pam, what are you doing for the holidays? Are you getting ready?
Yep, we're getting ready this week. We're gonna make some Christmas cookies, so looking forward to that with just like Mike said, just immediate family this year, keeping it small, but that's okay. That's all we need, right?
Yeah, and what about Lucy, your dog Lucy? I love to watch. She's always posting cute pictures of Lucy, and I bet you're making. Are you gonna make cookies for her? I bet you have something special, like an outfit or
Lucy's got
something.
her own doggy advent calendar, so she is all hooked up for the
Ah,
holidays.
That's right.
She gets a
I
new
don't know
treat every
about
day,
that,
so
but
the
no,
dog is spoiled, but we love her.
very cute. I know. I saw her online. You were opening the little doors of the Advent. What's
Yep.
in there?
Yep. Yeah, she's
Not.
got balls and treats, the whole works.
It's a riot. Very funny. And we're going to do some shows on pets this coming year. I already have that in my list of things to do. And if anybody has any suggestions, again, you can go to seniorsrockradio.com anytime and tell us a topic that you'd like to hear about or what something you've already listened to. Mike, do you have any suggestions or ideas that we haven't covered maybe for next year?
well, yeah, we'll. I think we've got some good things already in the hopper. Some of it just picking up and expanding on items we've covered in the past year. Barbara Rubel, of course, we'll have on again. We'll have the
Mm,
folks from Lifespan on again. The pet. I'm looking forward to the pet discussions because pets can be such an important part of our family and for our elders particularly. And there's actually estate planning you can do to make sure that your pets are covered and properly provided for. So we'll be able to inform people on that as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few things we can talk about with pets. For example, another thing that I found very fascinating was, a lot of us use these diffusers with the essential oils, and I didn't think about my pets. I have two dogs, and I realized one day I thought, I wonder if any of this ever bothers them. And I do keep them, in areas that are open so they can get away. But when I started to look into it, I realized that there are some things you shouldn't burn in the house that are toxic actually to animals. So we're going to talk about that in the show. And there's all kinds of things that we're going to bring up next year. So I'm excited about that. But again, folks, if you have a suggestion, we'd love to hear from you. And we will, do a show on it, on that subject for you. And again, we covered a lot today. It's always fun to get together. Mike, any last thoughts?
Have a great week, everyone. Be well and be kind.
And yeah, have a great week indeed. And listeners, thanks for joining us today. Come back next week and don't ever forget, Seniors Rock.